So hopefully most of you have seen the last video where I talk about planning and the actual production process when I was filming the interior designer's video. I showed you some basic things about how I'm going to get started, how I organize things, and all of that stuff. I'm not going to get into any of that today. Today I want to kind of show you the next step, like what things look like once I start assembling and I don't know, just give you kind of a little sneak peek as to how I'm going to go about adding B-roll and all that stuff. So this is going to be a relatively short video, but hopefully informative. So as I mentioned in the last video, and I'm almost done here with this. I'm going to go ahead and finish it up with you guys while I'm on here. But I mentioned, I took all of the footage or all of the footage. I transcribed it through rev.com. I created basically a storyline through rev.com. And then I take those clips and I assemble them on the timeline. And I did that basic thing. And then obviously there's some refinement along the way, removing ahs, trimming things up, moving things, combining different sentences into one sentence. There's all different kinds of things you have to do to kind of refine the timeline a little bit. And then from there, what I do is I go through and I listen to what I've put together, and I again pre-visualize what kind of footage I see going over that. This is also important because, as I mentioned in the last video, the order in which you film things is important as well. You start with the interview, take note of the different things that the person talks about, get supporting footage for those things, and then I brought them back into DaVinci Resolve. I'll just pull this up really quick, and I assembled all of the clips that I gathered, and I cleaned them up and made them all usable so I can just basically copy and paste them into the timeline when they're ready. So that said, we're ready to start doing that. I've pretty much got everything assembled. Right now we have 4 minutes and 16 seconds. Now this was all the way up to just over 5.5 minutes long, and I've trimmed it down quite a bit because the idea is you have to keep on listening, and the more you listen, the more you'll see what things aren't relevant to the actual story, and you can trim those things out. It's kind of like creating a sculpture. You're taking things away to reveal the story itself. Now for this, like I said, I had to take parts. I had to figure out what the story was. We interviewed for an hour, and I trimmed it down into 20 minutes of actual interview footage. So out of that 20 minutes of interview footage, I need to find a 3 to 4 minute story within that footage. So I also mentioned in the last video that I kind of work in threes. So, you have to have a beginning, a middle, and end, obviously. But what 3 things did I want to highlight in this video that would make it just easy to digest? All right. So we're obviously focusing on the kitchen as a whole. That is the story. But I thought I would just decide which 3 things within the kitchen would we be focusing on. And we talked about literally every single detail of the kitchen. We talked about the ceilings. We talked about the pantry. We talked about the workspace. We talked about everything. So I decided to focus on the island area, like just basically the center of the kitchen. She talks a lot about that, as well as how some of the things tie into that island. And I also decided to talk about the appliances and the tile work that was in here. So those are the 3 main things we focus on. So all that said, let's go ahead and let me just show you what I've put together here. Now, as a reminder, these marker points, I go through, and as you can see, as I scroll over them, I have notes as to what kinds of clips should go here. Now, I demonstrated what this looks like in the last video, and you can see I'm pretty much almost to the end. There's this last part that doesn't really have any supporting footage yet. So, because it's mostly her talking about how she works with people and her thought process. So I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to use for B-roll here. I may make the majority of it just her talking. I do have 1 or 2 clips of her in the environment, so I may overlay those there, but I'm not entirely sure yet. I still have to play with that. But for the most part, I have everything laid out the way I picture it. Now, again, the main thing is I let the thing play. I sit back. I imagine what kind of clips that I shot would support the things that she's saying in the interview. So I'll play a little bit just to kind of show you what we're dealing with here. So as you can see here, I've got this blank spot where it's just a black video, and you'll see why in a second. It's just an editing technique. And then right here, I've got fun music, fly over of the home, and vignettes with Merrily Modern title. So I'm going to go ahead and let it play, and I'll paint a picture of what I mean by all of these marker points here.
Hey Siri, is the kitchen the heart of the home?
All right, and then there's this big black spot.
My name is Mary Wire. I am.
Okay, now the reason I have this here is because it's just an editing technique. It starts with a black screen.
Hey Siri, is the kitchen the heart of the home?
I don't know what the name for this is. It's just a cool editing technique that I've used in the past. I don't know. I don't know what to call it, but it's just a thing where you just leave it black. And you've seen this in movies where it's black and you hear the audio happening. It's an establishing thing, and I don't know the filmmaking terminology for it. So
Hey Siri, is the kitchen the heart of the home?
So I think within the first 4 seconds, as you can see, it shows her personality, that this is going to be kind of a fun video. We're talking about the kitchen. You get a good glimpse of her personality and what to expect, and who the person is that's going to be talking and kind of narrating this whole thing. And then I've got this black spot where I have fun music. I took a note saying fun music, flyover of home, and vignettes with Merrily Modern title. So in this, let's see, 9 seconds, a 4 second, well, it technically goes all the way to here. It's basically like a 6 second title sequence where I'm going to have like flyovers of the house and some exterior shots, some interior vignettes of like footage that I'm not going to be using. And the title Merrily Modern, that's her business. And then it goes into introducing her.
My name is Mary Wire.
Like, we don't need to have a visual of her saying that. It's a good transition piece. So if I can have footage of the house right there, and in fact, I'll just go ahead and demonstrate that right now. So I'm not going to do the entire thing, but just to give you a sense of what I'm talking about. So we'll just use this shot for an example. Oops. So let's just say there's the whole vignette and the whole title sequence happening.
My name is Mary Wire. I am the owner.
So as you can see, it's not necessary to show her saying that.
My name is Mary.
It's a transition piece that this video is going to get started now.
My name is Mary Wire. I am the owner and principal designer at Merrily Modern.
And then we've got more exterior shots of the home, because right here she's talking about her actual home. So I'll just play that really quick.
I live in a 1962 mid-century modern expansive ranch. Over the past 7 years, we've been working towards restoring it and trying to keep its original.
Now you'll notice these blank spots right here. This is where it's meant to just be footage of her interview footage right there. And then any of these other things are overlays of what kind of footage we're going to be including. So I'm not going to do all of this, but you get a sense of how you are pre-visualizing the footage that you are going to overlay before you even actually start doing it. I don't know if to you it sounds counterintuitive or more time consuming, but to me this actually saves a significant amount of time and helps you tell a story without worrying too much about the visuals. I think the story is more important because it has to be compelling. The visuals help support everything that the story is saying. So something to keep in mind, to not try and assemble things out of order. If you do it in this order, you're going to nail it every time and you'll save more time in the long run. So let me show you what it actually looks like when I start assembling this. I gave you a sneak peek of how easy it is just to grab footage from your B-roll tab and just paste it into here. But we'll take this whole little sequence right here and start overlaying some footage so you can kind of get a sense of what we're talking about here. So
I wanted to make sure that every angle of the kitchen had something of interest, had a point of interest. For me, it's the plants, it's the symmetry with the wall oven and the hutch cabinet. If you turn and you're looking at it from walking in the front door, Definitely the column, freezer, and refrigerator are a point of interest.
All right, so she said a lot there, and it's hard. It's if you're not really paying attention, it's kind of hard to follow. It's not the most interesting part in the video. So you use visuals to support what she's doing, or what she's saying rather. So we're gonna start doing that now.
I wanted to make sure that every angle of the kitchen had something of interest, had a point of interest.
So as you can see, I've got this is open right here, which means it's going to be focused on her interview footage.
For me, it's the plants, it's the symmetry with the wall oven and the hutch cabinet.
Okay, so she's talking about the plants and then the symmetry of the cabinet and whatnot and the wall ovens. So I know I have footage to support that. So I go back into my B-roll timeline, and all I gotta do is skim through it and look for that footage. So there's one footage or one clip that she talks about the plants, and then she talks about the symmetry. So I know that I have a nice detailed shot revealing the plants, and I also know that I have a nice shot showing the symmetry of the kitchen. So we're gonna go ahead and pull those out. And I also know that we've got a shot that talks about when you look at the kitchen from the entry. So we'll use that as well. All right. There's my shot with the plants, and there's my shot with the symmetry. So we're actually going to copy all three of these clips because I got a tighter, like an establishing shot and then kind of a tighter shot here. So we're going to copy all of those because I think they'll all be useful.
Interest.
So plants first because that's what she talked about. So we'll move this over here.
Interest. For me, it's the plants, it's the symmetry with the wall oven and the hutch cabinet.
Actually, let's do this. So it's another thing to think about here is when you're shooting B-roll, you want to think in terms of tight, medium, and wide. In terms of like the shots you get. So if you're getting a shot of this kitchen, make sure you have a tight shot, a wide shot, and a medium shot. So that way you can use those wider shots as kind of establishing shots when you're assembling, or you can like switch between the two. So when I say establishing shot, it means you're kind of showing off the environment as a whole, and then when you get medium, you're zooming in, you're getting a little more detailed into like what you're talking about specifically, and then you've got the tight shots. And I'll demonstrate that again in a second when we start talking about the kitchen or the refrigerator.
Of interest. For me, it's the plants, it's the symmetry with the wall oven and the hutch cabinet. If you turn and you're looking at it, the symmetry with the plants, it's the symmetry with the wall oven and the hutch cabinet.
So I don't know if we actually need this second little clip here. I think just having these two clips works just fine.
Point of interest. For me, it's the plants, it's the symmetry with the wall oven and the hutch cabinet. If you turn and you're looking at it from walking in the front door.
Okay. This I have a gap here, but I do think that maybe I'll still keep it. I know I have a shot from looking from the front door, so let's look through those. There it is. All right, so I've got this shot looking from the front door. We're going to go ahead and paste this because that's what she's talking about right now.
If you turn and you're looking at it from walking in the front door, definitely the column, freezer and refrigerator.
So she's talking about this over here. So you can see I've got the establishing shot that talks about, that's establishing that you're looking from as she's talking in the video, you're looking from the entryway, the front door to the kitchen.
Or definitely turn and you're looking at it from walking in the front door, definitely.
So this shot reinforces everything that she just said because this is literally what she was talking about.
The column, freezer and...
All right, so we don't need that long of a clip. I know I got a tighter shot of that right there. And this is unfortunately more focused on the sink, but that's okay.
Freezer and refrigerator are a point of interest.
And I know I have a shot of the handles somewhere. And we did not get a detailed shot of inside the fridge because it was kind of a mess, but here's the shot of the handles. It's not super telling as to what we're referring to. I think if I had more focus on this clip of the refrigerator and freezer, then it would make more sense, but this works.
Freezer and refrigerator are a point of interest.
I'm going to speed this clip up because it's moving a little slow.
Interest. I'm not afraid of color. I also wanted the kitchen to feel like it had always been here. So in the entryway.
Okay. So I've got a note here saying vignettes of color. So I don't want to necessarily, let me see what else she says.
I'm not afraid of color. I also wanted the kitchen to feel like it had always been here. So in the entryway is this great blue.
Okay, so I know right here that I was going to inject some footage of the entryway because I have a solid shot of that. Oh, actually, I'm looking at this clip right here. This is a good transition shot. So we go from talking about the thing about the refrigerator.
I'm not afraid of color. I also wanted the kitchen to feel like it had always been here.
Okay, so this is a good spot to inject this clip. So she's talking about how she wanted the kitchen to feel like it's always been here, and she's going to start talking about the entry again. So we started at the entry into the kitchen. Now we're looking back at the entry. So we're in the kitchen now. We're going to look back toward the entry because she wants to feel like it's always there.
The kitchen to feel like it had always been here. So in to feel like it had always been here. So in the entryway,
okay, so as you can see, this kind of shows how the kitchen ties into the rest of the house. You can see how the cabinetry kind of matches, the tile matches that, etc. This matches this wall back here. So it looks like it always kind of has belonged with the original house design. So we're going to go ahead and find footage. So this clip supports that. Now we need to find footage to fill in, and when I talk about the let's see here.
Like it had always been here. So in the entryway is this great blue flooring that is.
Okay, so we have a very obvious shot of that. Where's it at? Right here. Oops. Actually, both of those clips will be helpful. So I'm going to grab them both.
Flooring that is original 1962 to. So in the entryway.
Ooh, this is
always been original 1960. Entryway is this great blue flooring that is original 1962 to the house. That was my inspiration.
Okay, so we've got that. I know I have another clip of this one right here. This is an important clip. So we're going to use this.
And using the blue brick from.
I'm going to reverse it actually, because I want to pull us back into the kitchen.
That was my inspiration in using the blue brick from fire clay on the walls. A key component to mid-century modern walls.
Okay, another thing I haven't talked about yet is breathing room. So you'll notice like some of these things have bigger gaps. I think it's important to leave some breathing room between points. You don't want to have things too close. So we're talking about the tile and then she starts immediately talking about outdoors. I think I need to give it a little bit of breathing room here before we transition into that next topic about the outdoors or whatever. So let's just play this by ear.
The blue brick from fire clay on the walls. A key component.
Yeah, that's good enough. So this gives us time to transition into the next thought. All right, so let's just look at and see what we have with this sequence of B-roll that we've laid over so far.
Every angle of the kitchen had something of interest, had a point of interest. For me, it's the plants, it's the symmetry with the wall oven and the hutch cabinet. If you turn and you're looking at it from walking in the front door, definitely the column, freezer and refrigerator are a point of interest. I'm not afraid of color. I also wanted the kitchen to feel like it had always been here. So in the entryway is this great.
So I'm noticing right here, I do want to use that one. Oh, well, I already have it. Okay, let's just mess.
So I wanted the kitchen to feel like it had.
I want to have this be a little closer.
I also wanted the kitchen to feel like it had always been here. So in the entryway.
This doesn't need to be as big of a gap, so I'm going to move this footage over.
So in the entry, always been here. So in the entryway is this great blue flooring that is original 1962 to the house.
I'm going to reverse this clip as well.
So in the entryway that is original 1962 to the house.
Because we're going to start moving back toward the kitchen, and I want the directionality of the slider to be.
That was my inspiration.
Heading back toward the kitchen.
And using the blue brick from Fire Clay on the walls. A key component to mid-century modern design is bringing the outdoors in. So I have the walnut veneer in the.
Okay, so you get the sense of how I'm going to continue assembling this entire video. And it's going to be relatively simple from here on out. As you can see at a glance, I already have, almost a third or a fourth of the video finished already. Then from there, all I have to do is go through and color grade things. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to actually finish off assembling all the clips and adjusting things. And then the next video, I will show you color grading and how we finally export everything and deliver it to the client. So hopefully you found this insightful. Let me know if you have any questions pertaining to this thing. Thanks.